Thank you for tuning into our seller interview series. Up today, we've got an Amazon Associates, advertising, and affiliate business for sale in the home niche. Created in June of 2015, this business makes $5,136 per month in net profit, and the listing number for the business is 46332. We do these interviews to give potential buyers more information about both the seller and the businesses they're looking to purchase. We hope these insights are helpful for you in making a buying decision. We've got the seller with us today to go through the business and cover everything from niche selection to traffic and monetization. John, thank you for coming on here today. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm doing very well.
It's my pleasure, and I'm excited to discuss this business with you. Content sites are always exciting. But before we dive into the questions that I have for you, I'd like to take a moment to run through a little quick summary of this business. Again, it was built in June of 2015, has a monthly revenue of $5,179, expenses of $42 to make for net profit, $5,136, which is generated on a 12-month average. Included in the sale of this business are the domain and all site content and files, a Pinterest account, email list, and affiliate accounts. John, please give us a little bit about your background in building and running online businesses.
Building and running online businesses has been a side job for me for several years. I kind of started out probably, 9 or 10 years ago, building random clone sites and gradually learning WordPress and a little bit about SEO, and then starting to get into affiliate marketing and more effective content creation. And over time, this site started out as a very small project and just kind of snowballed over the course of a few years into a reasonably large site. And my primary job is in real estate development. So it's kind of a random thing that I build real estate and build websites at the same time. So, yeah.
Yeah, so you say that this business has snowballed into a fairly large property here, and it certainly has. So why you decided to sell it today rather than keep it yourself?
Well, as I said, I primarily work in real estate, and I've started to focus on how to tie my real estate and construction and development knowledge in with the SEO knowledge that I've learned over the last several years building these affiliate sites. And my focus has shifted to more in that realm. And by selling this site, it would enable me to scale up my operations and attempt to tie these two different areas together in a way that I feel like I'm uniquely positioned to do.
So since this business has, as you said, grown, and if you look back over just even the last couple months, you've seen significant growth here, what would you say is the biggest reason that you have been able to be successful with this business?
I think it's just a slow, steady accumulation of content on the site, some careful keyword selection, and just kind of the goal of trying to help the readers as much as possible results in profit for the website. I have a team of writers that work with me, and they just kind of slowly send me content pieces every so often, and then I publish new ones on a kind of periodic basis, and slowly the site gets larger and larger, and it just continues to grow.
So you mentioned that you have a team who helps you run this business. What does it take from you, the owner, to maintain it?
There's very little maintenance. Occasionally update an article. The content that's on there is what I'll call evergreen. It's valuable for months or years without modification. But of course, over time, some new products get introduced or something needs to be updated. So I'll go through and update an article every so often. And then additionally, I'll publish new content from my writers. I've got a team of probably 4 or 5 people that pick topics that I assign to them, and then they supply me with content that I can publish.
So what is the primary source of traffic to this website?
The vast majority of it is through organic SEO, through Google searches for the most part. There's some social traffic through Pinterest. I personally am not particularly fond of social media in general and have not made it a priority to be on social media, both in my personal life and in my professional life, which I think that Pinterest is certainly I can clearly see that it's a strong growth opportunity. It's something that I have not focused on. Recently, I've started to play around with trying to drive more traffic through Pinterest. It's not something I'm passionate about, and I can see it as an area that would be a potentially good focus for another buyer, but it gives me some traffic, but it's not that significant. The primary traffic with the Google searches, I'm much more interested in kind of getting that traffic because it just never goes away and it's pretty reliable and just more what I'm interested in.
Have you explored email marketing?
I have just in the last few months started collecting emails. It is something I probably should have been doing 3 years ago, but I did not, mostly out of inertia. But I have begun collecting emails. I have not done any email marketing to send any of the people any information, but it is clearly an area additionally for growth that I have not tapped into. But the list is kind of slowly growing, but it's not being used at all.
Have you focused on link building at all?
A little bit. I've used, it's called Help a Reporter Out recently, and I've done several guest posts over the last few years on various sites. But I've found that the Help a Reporter Out to be a valuable resource for getting good links. And by just kind of perusing that once or twice a day, answering questions for authors who are writing articles in the niches that my website is in, can be a good source for really nice links, referral traffic.
So if you were to keep this business and try to grow it yourself even more, what are the biggest opportunities for growth that you would focus on?
Certainly, as I said, the social media aspect, the email marketing aspect, and basically the way I look at my site, it's kind of in the home and outdoors area of care and maintenance and design as well. And I've focused more on kind of the outdoor design part of my business. Over the last, I'd say, year, I've pushed into the care and maintenance, but that's still definitely a sub-niche that's not as fully fleshed out. And that area, I think, would be a good, in terms of content growth, that there's a lot of content there that I haven't touched that could be a good source for growth for a future. If I were to keep the site to continue, that's probably where I would focus.
Do you feel like there are any major risks associated with this business that a new owner should be aware of?
Nothing major. It's a niche that's pretty consistent. It is seasonal, but by focusing more, again, on the kind of the maintenance and tools, that would probably reduce the seasonality of it. You know, it's goods that will be required, people will be looking to buy forever. It's not kind of a trendy sort of thing. So I don't really see any major threats. You know, obviously competition can come in, but that can happen anywhere. But there's nothing unique to this niche that is particularly vulnerable to any threats.
So if someone were to come to you and say, John, you've been very successful with content sites and this one in particular, and I'd like to start my own, what would be your biggest piece of advice for them?
To write and then write and then write and then write some more, to just get in-depth knowledge of the niche and be patient. Certainly in the beginning, which in some ways is kind of the most fun part, but it's the most difficult part. You're sort of going blind, attempting to figure out what to write and whether something will rank several months down the road. But with patience and perseverance, you know, you can get a site to snowball. In some ways, it's almost kind of like gardening. You know, you don't really know what you're going to get for crops when you plant them, but you know that something will come up. So if you just keep planting enough crops, that eventually something will bear fruit. So that's kind of how I look at it. And it's definitely a long play in that it can take a while for things to rank. But once they do, that they tend to produce fruit for years to come.
Would you commit to a non-compete?
Absolutely, yeah, I don't have an issue with that.
How much support are you willing to provide a new owner during the transition period?
I think I had written something like 30 days of email and a couple of Skype calls. You know, I'm a pretty helpful person in general, so if there were questions, I would do my best to help out as needed.
Are you open to negotiating on something like an urnout, where perhaps a percentage of the proceeds from the sale would be paid out in the coming months rather than all of it up at front?
I guess it would depend on the offer. Wouldn't be my first choice, but it may be something I would listen to. But again, it would depend on the offer that was placed in front of me.
John, thank you very much for taking the time with me today. I have one final question. So if you were looking at this business from the perspective of a potential buyer, why would you feel like it is an asset worth buying?
It's pretty hands-off. The site over the last few months has earned quite a significant amount of money, and yet I have only logged into it a few times, really. So it's kind of like a billboard at this point that's there and getting views and views and views. So it's pretty hands-off. It's pretty enjoyable niche to learn about, at least to me, and can be lucrative. And there's definitely opportunities for growth as well from someone who, would be potentially skilled at link building. I would say I have not really emphasized link building just in general, but someone who's skilled at linking could potentially take the large amount of content on the site and amplify it significantly. So I think there's a lot of things that are attractive about the site, but it's relatively simple for someone who's familiar with affiliate marketing. And even for someone who's not, it's a great way to see what has been successful and begin to replicate it and expand the site out further.
Absolutely. And like I already touched on earlier, the site is already growing as is. So if someone came in and focused on things like social media marketing, email marketing, there's just even more opportunity to grow here. John, thank you very much for taking the time with me today. I really appreciate it.
Sure thing. Thank you.
If you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe to our channel. And if you want more information, the link will be below the video that will take you to this marketplace listing. If you're watching this on the listing page and want more information, become a depositor today. When you make the deposit, one of our business advisors will be in contact with you, and you will be given everything you need to review this business. Have a great day.